Deuteronomy 11 verse 19. Teach these words to your children, speaking about them when you sit, when you're home, and when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. The Bible commands us to be able to teach our children about God. Today I want to talk to you about influencing your children and making your children love God. Now, parents, it's very, very dangerous. If you want to know the most dangerous thing on this earth is to raise a child without being able to introduce them to God. Raising a child when you don't want to introduce them to God. You are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a Catholic, you are an Adventist, you are what? You are a practicing person. You go to church diligently, but you've never taken time to teach your children about God. You're preparing a quagmire. A child who doesn't know God will fall into problems, like it or not. A child who doesn't know God is going to turn out as a menace, is going to be worthless because he doesn't know God. The Bible talks about the children of Eli. The Bible says that the children of Eli never knew God. And you know what happened? Because they never knew God, they brought heartache to Eli. Eli was a prominent minister of God. But his children did not know God. They did the opposite. Listen, gentlemen, today the world wants to take away your influence so that you find it boring to speak to your children about God. How can you be a sounding parent if you don't want to indoctrinate your children with God? You cannot plan to go to church and leave your children home. You cannot plan for a Sunday service and then you leave your children home. When it comes to your children and God, you don't have a debate about it. It's Sunday. Sunday time is God time. It's not you to ask them that, oh, Jeff, do you want to go to church with me? Church is not something to want. Church is something to need. God is not something to want. God is something to need. And when you lose parental influence and you end up begging your child to pray, hold a time like this and you cannot kneel down, you cannot gather your children together to pray. If your child between the age of, this is the age of formation, from birth to 12 years, that's the age of formation. If your child doesn't know God between that time, you're going to have a very hard time in the future. Because the world is going to be able to influence that child. And once the world has influenced that child, guess what is going to happen? You're going to reap what you've sown. You're going to cry tears. Today I see parents crying tears because their children are beating them up. I see parents crying tears because their children are being thieves. Someone calls you, Mr. Curtis, I need help. My son is a thief. Mr. Curtis, I need help. My son is violent. He wants to beat us in the home. Then I asked, have you ever taken time to pray with this boy? No, I've always been busy. I've been traveling. I have a busy schedule and all that. You have a busy schedule, but if you do not teach your children about God, if you don't, the Bible says diligently, teach these words diligently to your children. God will never disappoint. The reason that's why we have got all these naked girls on the internet. Someone gets up and they take them to the toilet and they shag them in the toilet. In the toilet, there is no fear of God. Someone wakes up and posts all her naked videos online without any apology because there is no fear of God. When there is no fear of God, the child doesn't fear anybody because you were the first person to represent God in their life and you did not actually give them a chance to respect you. You did not give them a chance to fear you. The fear of God wasn't there. If a child who doesn't respect their parent cannot respect God, cannot fear God, introduce your children about God. Take them to Sunday school. Force them in there. When there is a church activity, force them in there. You are not going to be able to give everything a child wants. You will never be able to give everything the child likes. A lot of the things that a child wants are in God. Teach your child to be able to seek God on their behalf. You see someone taking their child abroad to study abroad. They secure them a visa and they go and study abroad. By the time they come back, they're messed up. because the fear of God wasn't with them. They could not decide for themselves. Teach your children about God. Force them to want God. Force them to need God. Give them every ability. That's what my mom did. She forced me to love God. And when you have a chance, like a holiday like this one, when you wake up in the morning to pray, 3 a.m., 2 a.m. prayers. For us, we have 2 a.m. prayers every morning. When you wake up to pray, and I tell people that I pray with every now and then, I tell them that now it's time to pray for the children. Go into their bedrooms, lay hands on them. Lay hands on them. Lay hands on them. Speak prophetic words. Professor. Use your mouth to speak. Let your child hear you speak prophetic words. Do not let the videos and the TVs be the ones to speak words to your children. Parents, we have to be intentional. Teach your children to love God so that you will not cry tomorrow. Remember, if you ignore your child today, a time will come when you won't be able to ignore him or her, when everything they do directly hurts you and ashames you. Godfrey Kutesa is my name, and I am part of the Boys Mentorship Program. We have a boot camp every December. It's a boot camp, not a picnic. Just in case you're looking for undiluted truth to be taught to your son, that's when you should sign up. December is when we happen. A boot camp, it's a militaristic boot camp. It's tough. It keeps boys to be strong and tough, the foundation of our Christian masculinity. Godfrey Kutesa is my name as usual. Thanks to the chief instructor who is behind the camera and my chief editor, that is Samuel Gerere. I thank you very much, and we will be back. Bye-bye.